Like many South Africans living abroad during apartheid, Desre Buirski lived a comfortable life overseas, but she longed to come home to the land of her birth. With the optimism surrounding Nelson Mandela's release from prison, she was inspired to come back. And through sheer guts and admiration for Madiba, she gave him a gift that would change her life forever.
On the 6th of May 1994, I heard that Nelson Mandela was coming to Cape Town to speak to several groups of local Cape Townians. And I thought to myself, but I need to give this man a gift. And there was, still with its original tag and label, it hadn't been worn, it was obviously a sample that was hanging in my cupboard. And it was a long sleeve shirt, a black shirt with tan fishes on it. And on the Saturday morning I went down to the synagogue. I saw his Mercedes waiting for him with the driver. I said to him, look, I've got this gift, please would you give this to Nelson Mandela for me? And it turned out that he wore that fish shirt, which became the famous fish shirt, to the opening dress rehearsal of our first ever democratic opening of Parliament. After that experience with having given him the first shirt, and the dream that I had already set on course was starting to become a little bigger and a little deeper. So over the course of the next 6 to 12 months, I periodically sent batches of shirts. And of course, as I would send them in batches, he would appear in public places and in the media with these shirts. And so this relationship began to unfold, but at this point I hadn't really ever met him. And then out of the blue, in 1995, it was just over a year later, I received this phone call saying, Desre, I'd like to set up a meeting with you to meet Nelson Mandela. And I couldn't believe that this was actually going to be the moment, like 14, 15 months later, that I was actually getting to meet the man. And so began the silk shirt era. It was just almost like an unbelievable dream coming true. And with this relationship just got greater and more amazing. I knew that I needed to get back to him somehow, because I wanted to present him with this wall hanging which I'd made. It was actually a quilt that I'd made into this very beautiful wall hanging. It was all silk squares, patches, and I'd lined it with silk. And in December 2006, I got a phone call from my very good friend Dan, and he called just to say that he was actually going on holiday with Nelson Mandela and Gracia Machel to Mauritius. And would I like to send a few shirts along? And I quickly told him about my idea for this quilt. And this was the next part of the dream. I wanted permission from Mandela to sign the quilt, and that I wanted to give it back to him so that he could auction it, and I thought that it would fetch quite a lot of money for his charities.
Not only have Desre's diverse interests and tenacious spirit made her a successful businesswoman and an activist to be reckoned with, but in her own personal life, she has applied her gutsy personality to help realize her dreams.
The process of my design is really 3 or 4-fold. First, it's the thought process, where I think about what colors and what shapes and what patterns. Do I want it to have an African theme? Is it going to be a floral theme? Is it going to be geometric? Is it going to be printed? Or is it going to be embroidered? I just recently got back from Bali, Indonesia, which is where I'd make most of my clothing. And I have a full-time office there where I keep 3 staff that work for me year-round, so that when I'm here in South Africa, I'm able to request orders of shipments to come in intermittently, and within 6 weeks the goods will arrive from Bali. Last year, 2010, I finished writing my book, which is called The President, My Path and the Patchwork. And on the cover, I've actually used some of the fabric of one of my shirts. The book and the story is my life story, my autobiography, but highlighting my relationship with Nelson Mandela over the last 14 years. I had so many incredible experiences that I felt ought to be shared with some people that might be interested. I matriculated at Progress College, and a year later my parents and my family, my brother and sister and I, immigrated to the United States, and that was in 1980. It was in 1992 that I came back here for a holiday, and at the time that I arrived back, I already had a notion and a good feeling in my heart that I wanted to come back and live in South Africa. I was excited about the possibilities of getting involved in business. I managed to secure myself a shop at the new waterfront that had at that point not even opened yet, and opened the shop 6 months later, which was in October of 1992.
We're here to support Table Mountain and to stop future development on the slopes of the 12 Apostles.
At the end of 1992, my friend Cecilia, Assad and myself discovered that the 12 Apostles, known as Oudekraal, the area between Camps Bay and Llandudno, was under potential development threat by unscrupulous developers. So we formed a campaign called Save Table Mountain Campaign to prevent the development from happening and taking place. And that really brought it to the public's attention for the first time, the seriousness of the potential of what could happen if Oudekraal were to be lost to development.
They are the graves of our forefathers here. They are the clothes of Islamic people here.
There are actually over 15,000 unmarked slaves' graves here, belonging directly to the Muslim community.
And these ancestors are here buried 400, 500, 600, 700 years.
I wanted to get involved in the politics and in the environmental issues that what to me seemed to be at hand. And I thought it was a great way to start my new life in South Africa.